Nerd. I need to turn this on. Man, I'm gonna have to get you to help me read today. When you read, try to use the mic.
It's on one accord.
You need to.
Hey.
That's it. That's the key right there. That is the key. Somebody entitled this good, boy.
That's like they did purpose with it.
Yeah. There we go.
I'm amazed at how a mistake is so easily made and so hard to undo.
Boy.
I wonder why it's like that.
Yeah. And then now let's go just pop this bad boy in.
I'm in Shabbat. Shabbat.
Oh. Huh? Oh, no. Yeah, you know they don't play? Where? A tarantula here? No, you didn't tell me. Yeah. How, where did he get in? Yeah, that's what that kind of threw me off. I said, tarantula here?
Yeah, he said, Brad killed. Yeah, he sent it to me. Somebody sent it to me.
No, I didn't see it. You sent it to me. Do we normally have tarantulas, or am I tripping? Because I've never heard them. Let's have them
They're
tarantulas.
just migrating. The animals are migrating right now. Yeah, they're like they're coming.
Get away from something?
Yeah, so the tarantulas are migrating right now. So they're passing.
They coming today? Okay. My parents? Okay.
But yeah, the tarantulas, they're migrating right now. So there was one of your guys' like that. Mind you, the funny part about that was when Letty went to the restroom, she came back to get me. She's like, "This is funny, what happened?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, let's go get the spider." You know, I'm like, I don't know, this was by the time we was this mouse.
Mhm.
So I went in the bathroom, was in the bathroom, ooh, spider out there. I was like, "Oh, let it in here. All right, go ahead. I'll stand here and watch the guards if the spider don't get you." She went ahead and turned it. And then Brandon was like, I'm like, "What?" And then as soon as I walked by, I was like, I was like, "Now that's a spider." It was huge. I was like, "Yeah, I'm glad Letty was didn't see that one because she was crazy."
Is it on the channel? For some reason my phone's not letting me do it. There it is. Yeah, okay. Alright. If one of y'all can share to the group text. Alright. So, Bam, when you get a chance, can you, Master, can you lead us in prayer? We'll do that.
No, send the cash app to the wrong place to get that. Sorry, guys. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Body along with every facility in the day, body in the day, so they have to do our house, but no one can do that. We have to open our minds, body, because we're seeing the blessings of the Lord and all the directions. We have to like
So, we're continuing about, it says the spirit of Elijah, but this is turning the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the children, the heart of the children to the fathers. This is part 3. This is about the 7 kings and strange salvation. Now, there's so much information, we're not going to be able to get to the 7 kings today. There's a lot of stuff that we're going to go over, but I tried and I was like, there's no way. There's no way. So, without further ado, okay, so let's do a quick recap, or quickish. What is going on? Let me exit this. Hold on, it's doing something weird. 1 second. Why is it doing that? I don't like it when it does that. Come on. There we go. Okay, so quick recap. Let's go back. So Malachi 4. Malachi 4. So it reads, "For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yes, all that do wickedly, shall be stubble, and the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith Yahuwah of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch." Now, when it says it shall leave them neither root nor branch, Hebraically, what does that mean? Because this just came to me now. So what does that mean? So this is all about what? Like the lesson, it's all about what? What have we been going over the last few weeks? What's the title? Like the title of the series? Yeah, I'll go back. Mhm.
Bringing our hearts from the Father back to the children, back to the
Right. To turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the children to the fathers. So when we go to Malachi 4 and we read verse 1, you got to think of it from a Hebraic lens. Again, this came to me now. It says that, "For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud yet, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith Yahuwah of hosts, that it shall not leave neither root nor branch." So, who is the root of Jesse? Jesus. Oh, not Jesus. Yahusha is the root of Jesse, right? So he's a what? He was, when he came in the flesh, he was a what? He was a man. So if he's not going to leave neither root nor branch, then that means there's going to be a lot of slaughter. There's going to be women that's going to be slaughtered too. But again, all this comes back to men. So when he's talking about he's going to, because like we're also called like a pleasant plant, and the branches of his planting, and all these other beautiful words. But that's talking about us, because the men were the main ones that were going to the war and that fought and went into captivity. Yes, the women went also, but the harsh punishment was on the men because we were out of order. So just remember that. So when he talks about root and branches, we are the roots of our families. We are the head of our families. That's us. We got to stop blaming the women. That's us. We can't put everything on them. We got to do our part. Like me and you always say, we got to do our part. Truly, we got to do our part. It says, "But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and you shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall." There's 2 awakenings. We're going to get into that in a little bit. There's 2 awakenings going on right now. We are a part, and we want to be a part of the awakening where the Son of Righteousness shines on us, so we can receive that healing in our wings. But there's a whole nother awakening that's going on too, the whole world. So us awakening is also the whole world awakening. So you got to keep that in your mind and in context, right? Then it says, "And you shall tread down the wicked." Who's going to tread down the wicked? Who shall tread down the wicked? Who? It says, "And you shall." Who's he? Who? Huh? So again, so he's talking to who? We got to break certain bonds, because that's what's going to end up happening. Like this spirit of Elijah, Eliyahu, this awakening that's going on, we're awakening from the things that put us to sleep. Because there's certain concepts that we've been taught that were really good, were great, but certain things became over spiritualized. And we got to remember the physical level of meanings of words. What you were talking about, words, right? Okay. It says, "And you shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this, saith Yahuwah of hosts." So that's what he's saying is going to happen. Because when Elijah comes, when the prophet comes, there's always, if you remember what Elijah did in his day, it was him against who? The prophets of Baal. What happened? People died. You had to choose between Baal or the Lord, and you had to choose or the Most High. Choose this day whom you will serve. But when that happens, death follows. That's why we have to kill ourselves now. We have to die daily. We have to mortify our members now so we can be a part of that awakening that's about the sun of righteousness shining on us. That's what we have to do in this day, right? So let's keep going. Remember you the law of Moses, my servant. This is key because people will tell you to get away from it. We have to remember that. So whenever you read stuff in the New Testament, you could see the types that was in the Old Testament to point you to the Messiah, to point you to the spiritual salvation, right? So, well, I don't want to get to that. Let me finish this. Remember you the law of Moses, my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all Israel, which the statutes and judgments. And behold, I will send you Eliyahu or Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of Yahuwah. That day is coming. And there's signs and there's seasons going on right now, and a lot of people aren't paying attention to it. But we have got to be paying attention to certain things. We can't just be like these people that think that the world is going back to normal. America's always going to be number one. We got to, if we have that mindset, we got to lose it soon, quickly. It says, and he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. So either this happens or the earth gets smite with a curse. So it happened, part of it happened because of the Messiah's death, burial, and resurrection. Elijah came before that. Many returned to the Most High in that time. And there was a spiritual salvation. So where was salvation found in? Do y'all remember? In the New Testament. Yeah, because like a lot of these rehashes, I'm going to keep doing the same stuff, bits and pieces of it over and over and over so we understand this. Because, especially as men, we're going to have to gird up our loins because the times is coming. It ain't going to be no turn the other cheek when the stuff hits the fan. As a man, we're going to have to defend our families is what's going to end up happening. Because we were created to provide, to profess, and to what? Protect. That's our plan. What were you going to say? Okay. Where was salvation found in the New Testament? I'm not talking. Well, where was the first time it was found in the? I'll just tell you, it's in the book of Luke. Do y'all remember?
Is that when John and the Father, baby?
There you go. There you go. So we're going back to Luke chapter 1 in the New Testament, and the verses would be 5 through 20, but we're going to jump to verse 13. And Bam, if you don't mind, could you please read?
But the angel said to him, "Fear not, Zechariah."
Now Zechariah is a priest, so he's a Levite, and he's the father of John or Yehukanan the Immerser.
For thy prayer is heard, and thy wife Elizabeth shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call his name John. And thou shalt have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth. For he shall be great in the sight of the Lord, and shall drink neither wine nor strong drink.
So he's always so reminded. Keep going.
But he shall be filled with the Holy Ghost, even from his mother's womb.
So it's possible from birth our kids to be endowed with the Ruach HaKodesh or the Holy Spirit. If we do our part as men, because the angel appeared to Zechariah, his father, but that's on us. We got to get right, right? So keep going. Oh, so, no, say what you was going to say. You was going to say something.
I heard what I read about being in the room. They actually met, he actually met the Messiah in the field.
Was happy?
But I didn't know it was a prophecy first, and then it happened. I just thought it just happened.
Because remember, so if we're talking about Malachi, what do y'all remember about Malachi? So we don't know who the author of Malachi was. It's unknown. They think it could have been Ezra, but that was kind of refuted, right? What does Malachi mean? The name means my messenger. The name Malachi means my messenger. And Massa means burden. And the burden's right there. There the burden is right there.
Yeah, I thought Malachi was named after Malachi.
No, and so like when you talk to Old Testament onlys, like you have to tell them like, okay, who's the author of Malachi? You believe that's the word. Who's the author? We don't know. So you have faith that that's the word of the Most High, right? So you can't play that both ways, and that's what a lot of them will try to do. Yeah.
And many of the children of Israel shall he turn to revive idols with their idols.
Mm-hmm. How?
And he shall go before them in the spirit and power of Elias.
Or Elijah. Yeah. Elijah is the Greek, I guess, version of it, but it's Elijah.
I thought it was two people. What was the two of Elijah?
No, he's coming in the spirit. Well, there was Elijah and there was Elisha. He was the one that came after.
Yeah, okay, that's this one.
Mm-hmm.
To turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for the life.
So this was almost a direct quote from Malachi 4,
Yeah.
but it was more focused on the hearts of the fathers returning to the children. Because again, we are the root, we are the branches of the family. We have to turn to them first, and then all things will be added unto them if you can receive that, if you can understand that, right? Go ahead.
I know I'm thinking about how, we have this, quote unquote, thing that black fathers are not in the household. We just don't matter the truth to it, a lot of it. But he says now as we become fathers, how we said, let's turn the father's heart back to the children.
Because so if our heart turns, that means that we made a choice to do that. So again, that still starts with us, and us doing that. Then, like we were talking about my son earlier, everything I'm doing, if I'm playing a game, if I'm watching a movie or whatever, he's just intent, just trying to make sure he knows what's going on, just like anything. They eat it up. That's why you train a child in the way they should go. That's the whole point, right? Keep going. Now we're jumping down to verse 66.
And all they that heard them laid them upon their hearts, laid them upon in their hearts, saying, what manner of child shall this be?
Okay, so what happened was, when the angel came to Zechariah, right? Because I know we've talked about this before. He appeared to him. Zechariah didn't necessarily believe the prophecy, so he became deaf and dumb until he was born. Once John was born, then all of a sudden he could talk again. That's why these people are reacting like this, like, wait, you can speak now? You've been deaf and dumb for almost a year now? And all of a sudden now that the child is born, you can speak and talk, and now he's going to prophesy, right? So keep going.
And the hand of Levi was with him. And his father, so Zechariah was filled with the Holy Ghost and prophesied, saying, blessed be Levi, Elohim of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people. And he hath raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David.
So we know that that's the Messiah, right? Mm-hmm.
As he spake by the mouth of the holy prophets, which have been since the world began.
Okay, keep going.
That we shall be saved from our enemies.
Wait. Wait. So they're going to be saved from spiritual enemies. Keep going.
From the hand of all that hated us.
Did we not go into captivity into every nation under heaven?
All of it.
Right. Keep going.
To perform the mercies promised to our fathers and to remember his holy covenant.
So, in the way we've been taught, it hasn't really seemed like that. So why were they still waiting for the promise of Abraham? We know that the Messiah comes a little bit later, but why then were they still waiting? Because we're going to go to another script even after this to further prove that they were still waiting for a certain type of salvation. Because we know that the spiritual salvation comes through the death, burial, and resurrection of the Messiah. We know that, right? Keep going.
The oath which he swore to our father Abraham.
So why are they still worried about that in the quote-unquote New Testament? Okay, keep going.
That he would grant unto us that we being delivered out of the hand of our enemies, might serve him without fear, in holiness and righteousness before him all the days of our lives.
Okay, now finish this part out.
And know, let's write thou though.
Thou.
thou child shalt be called the prophet of the highest. For thou shalt go before the face of Levi to prepare his way, to give knowledge over salvation unto his people by the remission of their sins.
And so this is what happened, right? The Messiah came. First John came because he had to come first, and he had to become lesser so the Messiah could become greater, right? So he came preaching the remission of sins through baptisms. And then the Messiah, he would go in that same vein, but then he would give them power, right? But he would also give them the remission of sins because he's a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek, right? That's an ability, that's a gift that's given to people that can attain that thing, right? So again, from what we've been taught, that was the only salvation, because that was a whole age and people didn't realize it. So in the age of the Messiah, in the time of the Messiah, that was known as the Piscean age. That's why you used to always see fishes. That was the Piscean age. That age has passed away now. We're actually in the age of Aquarius. This is a whole new age. And people don't even realize that. So times are literally changing before our eyes, right? Keep going.
I seen that on YouTube.
Mhm.
Like years ago.
Mhm.
Through the tender mercies of our Elohim, whereby
Mhm.
whereby the day spring from on high has visited us, to give light to them that sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the way of peace. And the child grew and waxed strong in spirit, and was in the desert till the days of his showing unto Israel.
And yeah, usually that's, when they get weaned off of, the milk, or maybe it was his baptism or whatever you want to call it. But we don't even understand, us being as men, that there's a whole way of peace. And if we're not in peace, and if we're out of order, our whole family's going to be that way. Because they used to say in the military, the crap rolls downhill. That's what it does. If we don't get ourselves in order, there's very few members of our family will get in order. Like, the time is really getting short, and we got to stop playing, like, for real. Because the Most High, he's not for play. He's not. So I'm going to ask y'all this question again. What were they waiting for? So we know that the Messiah was given the spiritual salvation for the remission of their sins, right? But what were they waiting for? So we read it, but I'm going to go to Acts 1. So we're going to go further. Acts 1, and I'm going to read verses 1 through 8. Now, it says, the former treatise have I made of Theophilus, of all that Yahushua began both to do and teach. So he's letting Theophilus know about everything that the Messiah did, until the day in which he was taken up. After that, he, through the Holy Ghost, had given commandments unto the apostles whom he had chosen, to whom also he showed himself alive after his passion by many infallible proofs, being seen of them 40 days, and speaking of the things pertaining to the kingdom of God, or of the Most High. So what we don't understand is, why does 40 days always show up? The flood, 40 days, 40 nights. Moses had to go fast twice, 40 days and 40 nights. The Messiah did the same thing, 40 days and 40 nights. So this isn't in the lesson. But why 40? So I'll start with Moses. Moses would fast 40 days and 40 nights for what?
So that's why. So I think like after the 30 days, you deny yourself, and then those last 10.
Nope. What did Moses fast 40 days and 40 nights for?
To see more high.
So he was standing in the gap, repenting for the sins of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So he did that twice. Now, and then he delivered them from one exodus, right? He gave them one exodus. We all went into different captivities. He did it twice, and we know, according to scriptures, there's a second exodus coming. A lot of times these people are actually praying and fasting in the gap for future generations. So he didn't do that for himself. Moses literally didn't. He went up to the Most High, came back down there building golden calves and doing all this other sex magic, sexual rituals, and all kind of craziness. And so he fasted and stood in the gap for them, like, hey, if you're going to kill them to blot my name out the book of life, like, you crazy. I'm not doing it for y'all. I'm not. Like, Moses stood in the gap twice. And then going forward to the Messiah, people don't understand that 40 days and 40 nights that he fasted, he literally didn't perform any miracle. So he got baptized under the spirit of Elijah because he was greater. Then the Spirit led him into the wilderness 40 days and 40 nights. He didn't perform any miracle until after that. So the manifestation of the power wasn't until after the 40 days and 40 nights. But we don't understand that he actually did that 40 days and 40 nights for us also. I say that because what did we just read in Acts? What did we just read?
That he was 40 days.
So he could be able to show them, to imbue them with power, and so they could be seen of him 40 days and 40 nights after. We don't understand that literally, even Abraham, all of them were thinking about the future. They weren't thinking about themselves. Moses was not thinking about himself. Like the only time Elijah was thinking about himself, he was like, Moses, go ahead and kill me. Because all these people, like, they don't want to serve you. So they had died to themselves, to their will. So us as men, that's something that we got to do. What are you going to say?
They don't want this to be like, come get me. I'm doing it, Father. Just come get me.
Look. And what? So Moses did that, and then he didn't get to go like into the kingdom, the physical kingdom, right? You know why? If you really think about it, you think Moses wanted to? Moses was the only prophet that the Most High talked to face. He could have repented. He could have prayed. The Most High would have forgave him. He didn't want to deal with our people no more. That's the truth. He didn't want to deal with them. No. Y'all keep doing this, man. Do you not see I got this stick and, I'm parting seas, and you see all these people dying. You see y'all dying from snakes. The Most High gives me the power to make a brazen serpent. All you got to do is look at yourself or look at the snake, because a lot of us have snakes in us, and be you healed. And even that ain't good enough. Y'all didn't want to leave Egypt. Didn't want to leave Egypt to be saved, to be your own nation of people. Y'all want to go back because they got meat and they got all this other type of stuff. When I'm giving you a salvation, I'm giving you freedom to where you can live and serve your Creator the way you're supposed to. And that ain't good enough, because they're still looking back, looking like Lot's wife at the past, when the Most High was like, behold me, behold me. He's like, I'm here. I got y'all. My son is leading y'all in the wilderness, but y'all don't even want to go there. Yep. Y'all would rather be in bondage because you're comfortable there. You can get all the fast food that you want. You can have anything that you need. You just got to make sure you get up at a 9 to 5. Because a lot of people cannot lose the slave mindset. And I don't even know what we got on that, because that's not even part of the lesson. But our ancestors were doing these things for us. They weren't thinking just about the moment, YOLO life. That's truly not, because their heart had turned to their Father. And their heart had also turned to their children. Because we're going to read a little, I don't even know if we'll get to a little bit of Abraham, but I have so much stuff, but we're not going to get to all this stuff today. But the Messiah did that so he could be seen those 40 days, so we can have the what? The faith, the belief that we can walk in that power. Again, because the Messiah, he did nothing of himself. He didn't speak his own words, only the things that his Father told him to speak. That's complete obedience. That's a whole burnt offering. That takes, a lot of us, it's going to take a lifetime to even potentially get halfway there. Because it's not easy. It's a daily walk. Mortifying your members, saying no to your flesh, saying no to some of your desires, because he still wants to give you the desires of your heart. He just wants you to do it through him, and not try to do it, through your own imaginations and devices, right? Where was I at? The kingdom of God. So, okay, verse 4. I think I'm on verse 4, right? Yeah. And being assembled together with them, commanded them that they should not depart from Jerusalem, but wait for the promise of the Father, which saith, you have heard of me. For John truly baptized with water, but you shall be baptized with the Ruach HaKodesh, or the Holy Ghost, not many days hence. When they therefore were come together, they asked of him, saying, now this is the kicker, Master, will you at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? So this gets glossed over. This gets read really fast. So the Messiah just came to tell you, y'all about to be imbued with power, with the whole Holy Ghost, right? The Ruach HaKodesh. But then they're asking, are you going to return the kingdom to Israel? Because there's a dominion, there's a rulership that happens. And people are uncomfortable, because anyone can cleave to the commandments to the Most High and be a part of the body. Not speaking nothing against that. But there's a physical salvation that has to happen. I'm trying to make sure that we're prepared for that, because when people start falling dead and wars start happening, and they're giving us all of these ideas and illusions of why this stuff is happening, no, it's because of you. It's because there's a controversy. It's actually because of you. There's a salvation that happens, but that means that there has to be bloodshed. There's no getting around it. They were waiting for Israel to return to dominion. Why? Because in the New Testament, they were under Roman occupation. So 2,000 years later, we're under American occupation, European occupation, whatever else you can think of. But there's a physical salvation that even the apostles were still waiting for. And so the Messiah was like, because it wasn't that time. He came to fulfill the part of the suffering and to give us power through the remissions of sins, right? And he said unto them, it is not for you to know the times or the seasons which the Father hath put in his own power, because it wasn't that time. Are we okay? Everybody get that? Okay. So what was the scapegoat, real quick? We're still doing recap. We haven't got to the lesson yet. Right. Right. It was the goat that symbolically the men, the elders of the household, or the children, the nation of Israel, especially on Yom Kippur, would all place their hands on them, and all the sin of Israel would be placed on it, and they would let it out. Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement. But yeah, that's what a scapegoat is. So the Levites, we had talked about that, the Levites became the scapegoats, because we weren't giving pure offerings to the Levites, and they weren't giving pure offerings to the Most High either, right, of what was given. So the word accountability is that quality or state of being accountable, especially an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility or to account for one's actions. Us as men, we have got to be accountable. There's no getting around it. Salvation in our families literally depends on it, because again, we are the roots of our families, because we all stand on the shoulders of our ancestors, and our families stand on our shoulders. They'll only go as high as we take them. That's our responsibility. What, man?
Now, looking back at our ancestors, the roots is on top of the ground, and then the branches come off on the bottom of the trunk. Makes sense.
And so, if we remember what was going on in Malachi 2, in Malachi 2, why did the Most High say he was going to put dung on the faces of the priests? Do we remember? Right. So in order to know that, right. You're on the right path. You're on the right path. So you have to go back to Leviticus 1, and I'm going to jump down to verse probably 4. He says, and he shall put his hand upon the head of the burnt offering, and it shall be accepted for him to make atonement for him. And he shall kill the bullock before Yahuwah, and the priest, Aaron's sons, shall bring the blood and sprinkle the blood round about upon the altar that is by the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And he shall flay the burnt offering and cut it into pieces, right? So everything he's doing so far is right. And the sons of Aaron, the priest, shall put fire upon the altar and lay the wood in order upon the fire. And the priests, Aaron's sons, shall lay the parts, the head, and the fat in order upon the wood that is on the fire, which is upon the altar. But his inwards and his legs shall he wash in water. So they weren't immersing or baptizing the insides of the animal, which is what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be mortifying our members. That was kind of symbolic. So in Malachi's time, or whoever the prophet Malachi is attributed to, his time, the priests, they would get all these sacrifices, they cut it up right, but then they wouldn't clean the innards. So they sent up a stink to the Most High, saying, you know what, I'm going to put dung on your faces. That's what I'm going to do. Because, again, we have to make sure we're giving him the best that we can give him, right? So now, we've been going through the book of Malachi. We're not done with the book of Malachi. We're not going to go over everything in the book of Malachi today. We're going to read it all, but we're not going to go over everything. So we're going to Malachi 3 today. And Bam, if you don't mind, could you read, please?
Behold, I will send my messenger.
What does Malachi mean?
Messenger of the Most High.
It literally means my messenger. Yep.
Behold, I will send Malachi, and he shall prepare the way before me, and the God whom you seek shall suddenly come to his temple.
Now this is the Messiah. Go ahead.
Even the messenger of the covenant,
That's what he was.
whom you delight in, behold, he shall come, said the Bible. Yeah. But who may abide in the day of his coming? And who shall stand when he appears? For he is like a
Refiner's fire.
It's hot, right?
Hot, heat.
And like fuller's soap. What's that? Fuller's soap.
It's still in the context of refiner's fire.
Okay. Now he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. And he shall purify the sons of Levi and purge them as gold and silver. They that may offer unto Levi an offering in righteousness. Then shall the offering of Judah and Jerusalem be pleasant unto Levi, as in the days of old and is in former years.
So the reforming or the purifying of the sons of Levi is a sign that the Most High is going to accept our offerings, right? Our repentances, right? Okay, keep going.
And I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, and against the adulterers, and against false swearers, and against those that oppress the
hireling,
and his wages, his widow, the father and the fatherless, and they that turn aside the stranger from his right, and fear not me, said the Bible.
because like in this awakening, there's a lot of quote unquote Israelites that preach that there's no type of salvation, there's no type of anything for the strangers. Now, Scripture does talk about the salvation for Israel, got you, but anyone can cleave to the covenant and be a part of that, and they will be back in the land, and then they will have a right. That's something that's kind of frowned upon. You know, they'll be there. Those that are faithful to the Most High. It's not going to be some type of they try to make it so racial, and when it's really a national thing, and it's really a heart thing, when it really comes down to it, right? Okay. Go ahead.
For I am the Bible, I change not. Therefore, you sons of Jacob are not consumed.
So even though we have gone into captivity, being battered, bruised, destroyed, the Most High is not going to forget his covenant that he has. Because, again, they were still waiting for the promises or the covenant of Abraham. And that's glossed over in the New Testament. Why would the apostles be asking the Messiah that? That's glossed over. People don't really take that to heart. Because there's a spiritual, but there's also a physical salvation. Huh? Well, because Abraham was promised the land of Canaan, right? But also, he would bless those that bless him and curse those that curse him. And there were more given, like, from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob, and then so there's more stuff that was given, more stuff, and then the Moshe, more stuff that's given, and all of that ties back to Abraham because he was the original. That's why he's called the father of the faith. That's why the hearts of the fathers have to turn to the children, and the children have to return to the father. And we don't really understand the heart of Abraham because what did he do for Lot? Huh? What did he do for Lot? Lot got kidnapped. Man-napped. Him and his family man-napped. So Abraham went with, I think maybe it was a total of 318 of them, went and destroyed 5 kings for his family. Like he said, I'm going to get it in blood. It's literally what Abraham did. And we don't take that to heart because we don't understand the heart of our fathers. Because don't get me wrong, we are peaceful people. We want peace, but we will defend our own. Right? Okay. Mm-hmm.
Even from the days of our fathers, ye are gone away from my orders, and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you, said the Lord of hosts. But ye said, wherein shall we return? Will a man rob Yah? Yet ye have robbed me.
Mm-hmm.
So ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings.
And again, we're not really going to go into that. That'll be another thing with tithes and offerings. So let's keep going.
Ye are cursed with a curse, for you have robbed me, even this whole nation. The whole nation is
Mm-hmm.
Bring ye ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house. And prove me, right?
Yeah, prove it. Yeah.
Prove me now, herewith, said the Lord of hosts. I will not open you the window of heaven, and pour you out a blessing, that ye shall not be, there shall not be room enough to receive it. Okay. I will.
So, and then given the tithes and offering, and then it gives you favor, it gives you blessings. Read the next verse.
And I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes, and he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground. Neither shall your wine cask have fruit before the time in the field, said the Lord of hosts. And all nations shall call you blessed, for ye shall be able
To light some land.
to
All right.
light some land, said ye, the Lord of hosts.
Says Yahuwah. So, there's blessings that comes with tithing and offering, right? And then it says, your words have been stout against me, saith Yahuwah. Yet you say, what have we spoken so much against you? You have said, it is vain to serve Allah or God. What profit is it that we have kept his ordinance, and that we have walked mournfully before Yahuwah of hosts? So, because of their station, all of the ritual, killings and sacrifices of blood, it became a 9 to 5 to them. They were like, this is a vain thing, because they couldn't see the importance of understanding why the Most High was having them doing that, so they could see that the Messiah in the New Testament. That's why a lot of the scribes and Pharisees, they didn't like the Messiah. They were trying to kill him, and they didn't understand that with them having that spirit, that's why our nation was killed. So the Messiah, in essence, actually came for the remissions of sins, because even then there was 2 awakenings. There was awakening to the remission of sins, and then there was awakening to the law of sin and death, or to die. And that's what happened in 70 AD. Those that didn't heed the warning of the Messiah and flee to the mountains, they died. Right? The Romans, they encircled them. And then a lot of them, like the curses of Deuteronomy 28 came over, they were literally eating their children. A lot of people don't even know that, because they weren't obedient. Again, there was 2 awakenings. So the disciples and the prophets, the apostles, they all got out of there. But those that wouldn't heed, that didn't have the spirit of discernment, they died. There was 2 awakenings in that time. That's why I'm saying there's going to be there's 2 awakenings now. And it says, your words have been stout against me, saith Yahuwah. Yet you say, what have you spoken so much against you? You have said, it is vain to serve God. And what profit is it that we have kept his ordinance, and that we have walked mournfully before Yahuwah of hosts? And now we call the proud happy. Yes, they that work wickedness are set up. Yes, they that tempt God are even delivered. So they're saying they got everything. They get delivered for everything. And you don't know that their destruction is coming. That's why we're not supposed to be envying our oppressors, and we're supposed to choose none of their ways. Then they that feared Yahuwah spake often one to another, and Yahuwah hearkened and heard it. And a book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared Yahuwah and that thought upon his name. What are we reading right now? Is the Most High not making sure that his people are being remembered? So what we don't understand is when this salvation happens, there's going to be more books added to what we call the Bible. Because there's righteous people, there's more prophecies, there's more testimonies that's going to happen. Because the Messiah's got to reign for 1,000 years before the world tries to come against him again. And people, they don't understand that. So books are, that's why everyone has a book, because books are being written. And then they're going to be added to this, right? Then the book was written, right? Book of remembrance. And they shall be mine, saith Yahuwah of hosts. In that day when I make up my jewels, we are his jewels, and I will spare them as a man spareth his own son that serveth him, because we are his children. Then shall you return and discern between the righteous and the wicked, between him that serveth God and him that serveth him not. So in the 2 awakenings, you've got to have a spirit of discernment, because they got us looking at a certain people that we know is not it. There's so much information that keeps coming out. It's literally a landslide, an avalanche of information saying who we are. In Harvard and Yale, books that are 30, 50, hundreds of thousands of dollars to even get. tells you who we are. Literally lets you know who we are. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Facebook is going to fact check you. That's what's going to happen. You try to show them true information and true history. That's why you have to read books, even if you just get the digital versions of them, and you'll just see so much information. So we're going to go to Genesis 15, because again, we're not going to be able to get to the 7 kings today. We'll start at verse 8. And we're going to read through verses 8 through verse 18. And he said, Yahuwah, Most High, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? So Abraham, an angel of the Most High came and told him that he's going to inherit the land of Canaan. His seed is going to be multiplied. He's going to bless those that bless him and curse those that curse him, right? So he's like, hey, how am I going to know that I'm going to receive it? He asked a question. The Most High was like, and he said unto him, take me an heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took him all these, and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against another. But the birds divided he not. And when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abram drove them away. So what was happening right there? Right. But so there's something that's called the year of a tithe. That's why we're not getting into tithes today. It's the 3rd year. So the sacrifices, he said, give me what did he say? A goat of 3 years, a heifer of 3 years. That was a tithe. And people don't even see that. They don't even understand that. So Abraham was actually keeping the commandments without even it really even being codified. The Most High would be like, okay, you're going to do this, this, and that. Abraham, he would just die to himself and he would just be obedient. That's the thing. He would just be like, okay, I'm going to get all this. And then it says, and when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abraham drove them away. So we've talked about this before. Whenever you see fowls of the air, or fowls, that also is different nations of people trying to take. What was Abraham getting ready to get? The covenant. So he was protecting the sacrifice of the covenant. Abraham understood that, no, y'all get out of here. But what's happening now is everyone is trying to claim that they're the people, claim the covenant, don't want to have to go through the good and the bad, the blessings and the curses, because we talked about it, that in this reality, everything's an algorithm. If we're doing the things that are right to the Most High and are righteous, then we get the blessings. That's an algorithm. We do the things that are wrong and not pleasing to the Most High, we get the curses. That's an algorithm. So Abraham understood that, like, no, ain't none of y'all getting my covenant. And this is Abram at the time. His name wasn't even changed then. He's like, no, I'm protecting the covenant. I'm guarding or regarding the covenant. That's what we have to do as men, right? Then it says, and when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. So something happened to where there was a great darkness and a horror that fell upon him. Okay. Fell upon him for no reason. For no reason. Fell upon him. So what is that? A deep sleep fell upon Abraham, and then that means that he was having a nightmare. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that your seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterwards shall they come out with what? Great substance. And you shall go to your fathers in peace. You shall be buried in a good old age. So there's something about 400 years. There's something about 400 years. So what happened in 2019? What did Trump and the government do? They commemorate the 400 years of slavery that our people had in 2019. I don't know if y'all remember that. Yeah. And they were supposed to have this commission, and they were supposed to do all this wonderful stuff, and I think they did a Project 1619, and that was about it. It was like a TV show or something, but it didn't happen. And they're building all these committees and to have a talk to see if we can get reparations and stuff like this, right? But that was in 2019. So something happened. What else happened in 2019? Right after the 400-year mark. It's crazy how that happened right after 400 years. That happened what? November 2019, October 2019? The world just kind of just shut off? Right after the 400 years? We have to have the spirit to discern. There's two awakenings. People think America is going back to normal. There is two awakenings right now. And we want the sun of righteousness to shine and to heal us with his wings. But that was in 2019. That was the 400 years, right? And people attribute that to Egypt. Well, we weren't in Egypt for 400 years. If you go to, like, I think it's the Septuagint, we were actually only in Egypt maybe 215 years. We were in Canaan and in Egypt for 430 years. So there was something about 400, and then why would our government commemorate that then? And then right after that, almost immediately after that, coronavirus. Like you said, a plague. So now we're going to keep going to Genesis 15. We're going to go to verse 16. But in the fourth generation, they shall come hither again. So they shall come here again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. Wait, we were in Egypt, so why are we talking about Amorites? What is it about Amorites? So there was an Oxford Rebirth that kind of brought like that part out. Like, yeah, I never really thought about like why Amorites? Shouldn't it be Egyptians? Mitzrayim? Like, why are we so worried about the iniquity of the Amorites? So, what is iniquity? Do y'all remember? Because when it comes to sin, y'all remember the definition of iniquity? Right, it's the worst form, is the guilt or the punishment of sin. So then it says, and it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. So that was the Most High going in a figure eight through the sacrifice. That lets you know a figure eight. Where does it start? Where does it end? That's what was happening there. In the same day, Yahuwah made a covenant with Abram. That's what the apostles and the disciples were talking about in the New Testament, saying, unto your seed have I given this land, from the river Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates. So I kind of went down a rabbit hole, because like I said, there was an Oxford Rebirth that kind of brought that out, which there are some people that brought it out a few years ago, but I didn't really look into it. So Amorites, so why is the Amorites important when we were in Egypt, and we're in spiritual Egypt even now, right? So the word Amorite is Amori, right? Amori. It says a sayer, so someone that speaks a lot. One of the peoples of East Canaan and beyond the Jordan, dispossessed by the Israelite incursion from Egypt. So we ended up slaughtering them and kicking them out, right? But we're going to learn more about the Amorites today. Genesis 15 verses 16. But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again for the iniquity. Iniquity is the guilt or punishment of sin, if you're asking for the definition. Yeah, guilt or punishment of sin. Bam remembered that one. Right. So it says the iniquity of the Amorites is not full. So it means that they're sayer, there are people that talk a lot. But if we keep going down to some more information, now this is from Blue Letter Bible. It says, perhaps it means mountain dweller. So an Amorite also means mountain dweller. Don't believe. And elsewhere, meaning mountain dwellers, very dubious. In Egyptian, Amara, see whatever that is, WMM. A chief people dispossessed by the Hebrews, now living east of Jordan, twice in the verse. But it also meant, if you scroll down to sea, it says west of the Dead Sea. Remember west. Just remember west. So we're talking about Amorites, because the iniquity of the Amorites is not full. Now it says, I'll start right here. It says, an Amorites, a nation of Canaan, and apparently the greatest and most powerful of them all. So we beat the greatest nation in Canaan, right? Our people. So as to include all the nations of Canaan at certain parts in time, right? So I just wanted to make sure I read that. So let's keep going. Now it says Amorite, right? This is the World History Encyclopedia. I want to make sure y'all can see this, okay? World History Encyclopedia. It says the Amorites were a Semitic people. Now, Semitic does not necessarily mean of the same bloodline. That can also denote language. Let me be clear about that. That can also denote language. The Amorites were a Semitic people who seem to have emerged from western Mesopotamia. You see west again. That's the second west. West of Jordan, western Mesopotamia, modern-day Syria, at some point prior to the 3rd millennium BCE. In Sumerian, they were known as the Martu or the Tidnum in the the third period, so of the Chaldees, right? In Akkadian, by the name of Amaru. Amaru. That's kind of close to America. If you start pronouncing the stuff, right? And in Egypt, as Amar, all of which mean Westerners or those of the West, as does the Hebrew name Amorite. So the Hebrew name Amorite also means of the West. They worship their own pantheon of gods, which a chief deity named Amaru, also known as Belu Sadi, the lord of the mountains, whose wife, Balit Sari, was lady of the desert, which also became a designation for the people, as the Akkadians also referred to them as the people of Amaru, and to the region of Syria as Amaru. There is no record of what the Amorites called themselves. We don't even know what they called themselves. But it means Westerner. The iniquity of the Amorites is not full. It says the god of Amaru's association with the mountains and his wife with the desert suggests that they may have originated in the area of Syria around Mount Hermon. Now, what's particular about Mount Hermon? Come on, we went over that. Come on, y'all should know about that. This is going back to Genesis, like the 5th and 6th chapter. As in the days of Noah, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. So what was going on in the days of Noah?
They were mating with animals and stuff.
Who was they? Okay, the watchers were mating with who? You said animals. What else? The daughters of men.
And the gods, they were like,
Yeah. So it says, yeah, right. It says the god Amaru's associate.
Mount Hermon was where they ate. Like
That's where they initially came down. The fallen angels. That Mount Hermon is a literal portal. That's where they manifested themselves. So the Amorites, now I'm going to read this again. The god Amaru's association with the mountains and his wife with the desert suggests that they have originated in the area of Syria around Mount Hermon. This is unsubstantiated, but that's what they're attributing to their origin, Mount Hermon.
Yeah,
That's where the fallen angels originally fell. Uh-huh. Right. And so, like, because they try to attribute, like, the Amorites to, like, potentially sons of Ham, but you start looking into different sources and it starts getting real murky. It don't make no sense what some of these other people say. So let's keep going. It's going to tie into what you said, because I'm going to get y'all out here early today, hopefully. Yeah, we should be able to get out here early. Okay. Now it says the Amorite people. Remember, the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. The Amorites may have come of European origin, though no one is sure what was their ethnic origin. They were represented on the Egyptian monuments with fair skins, light hair, blue eyes, curved or hooked noses, and pointed beards. They were supposed to have been of great stature. The iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. Amorites, Egyptian Amar, Akkadian Amaru, to Samaria Martu, refers to probably Semitic speaking people who occupied the middle Euphrates area from the second half of the 3rd millennium BC. It is useful to remind readers that Semitic speaking people is not an ethnic group of people of related bloodline. So they are not of that bloodline. Huh? Son of Shem. The term Semite was proposed at first for the languages related to the Hebrew by Ludwig Schlosser, whatever his name is. Though, yeah. So I'm going to jump down. It says, the claim based on the biblical, they talk about Noah's flood and this and that. So I'm going to go down to the next part. It says, so Amorite means a mountaineer it means a sayer, it meant a Westerner. A Westerner, right? So then it says, warlike mountaineers, they were fierce tribal clansmen who apparently forced themselves into lands they needed to graze their herds. Though herdsmen, the Amorites were not peaceful pastoralists. They twice conquered Babylonia. Remember, was reading the books of King Og and all that, and how Shinar was King Og's kingdom. So twice they conquered Babylon, right? At the end of the third and the beginning of the first millennium, the decline of the Sumerian language in Mesopotamia was the time of their most famous incursion. So they played a big part in that decline. Inscriptions and tablets of the early Babylonians indicate that they occupied parts of Syria, the land east of Israel, in 900 BC or 1900 BC. At first, the Amorites were merely a regular irritant to the Empire, but eventually they undermined it to such an extent that the position of last king Sin was weakened to the point that his subjects was able to overthrow him. It says the Amorites seem to have worshipped the moon god Sin. So these Amorites worship a god called Sin. They worship Sin is what the Amorites do. And remember, they talk a lot. They're called sayers. They're Westerners. And what was their description? They are fair skins, light hair, blue eyes, curved or hooked noses, and pointed beards, right?
It's great. So, boom, you read, like you say, it says the God, Sin, and Amu. Amu was one of the names of the people, right?
It's one of their names also, yeah.
The name like the God.
Right. Just like we are. And then it says, at first the Amorites were merely irregular. Yeah, okay. The Amorites seem to have worshipped the sun god or the moon god Sin in Amaru. Known Amorites wrote in a dialect of Akkadian found in tablets from 1800 BC, which shows some northwest Semitic forms and constructions. Presumably, their origin or acquired tongue was a northwest Semitic dialect. Through their language, though their language is unknown, so we don't even know the language that they spoke. But then they learned the Semitic languages. So they're chameleons, is what I'm trying to get y'all to understand, right? Only one word of the Amorite language survives. One word, Shinar. That's the only word from the Amorites' language that we know of. That's it. And that was the king of Og's land. The name they gave to Mount Hermon. They gave that name to Mount Hermon where y'all read, what we read earlier, that was where the angels fell, right? So they called Mount Hermon Shinar. And then that's believed to actually be their origin place in Shinar. The main sources for our extremely limited knowledge about their language are their proper names that survive in non-Amorite texts. Many of these names are similar to later biblical Hebrew names. It is unknown whether the Hebrews borrowed names from the Amorites or the other way around. Amorite or whatever, it says the wider extension of the use of Amaru by the Babylonians and Assyrians is complicated by the fact that it was also applied to a district in the neighborhood of Babylonia to which the land of Canaan does not traditionally extend. So when King Og was talking about, he actually was ruling a land in Babylon. This is more than likely true. So looking into this stuff, because we've kind of been taught that, quote unquote, if you want to call them white people, whatever you want to call them, that they're Japheth. That ain't all true. And then in this awakening, a lot of these camps try to say that they're all Esau. That ain't true either. It's not. It's flat out not true. It's a bold-faced lie. Literal. Facts. So, and we're gonna kind of get into something like that. Well, we're still on the Amorites. So now. Canaan was a descendant of Ham, grandson of Ham, but according to, I believe it's the book of Jubilees or the book of Jasher, I think it's Jubilees, the land that Canaan was actually living in was never his inheritance. Shem was already given that inheritance. Canaan left his inheritance because he didn't like it, moved over there, and he just stayed there. So that's something else that they took out of the Bible, so we don't even understand that. So the inheritance that the Most High gave him was always supposed to be his inheritance. That was always supposed to be our land, right? And it says, the Amorites do indeed remain a mystery, but biblical anthropology provides some insights that should be considered. Given the archaic languages in the Afro-Asiatic family share common consonant roots with different vowels, it is likely that Amorite is anglicized form of the word Amaru. That's what we read earlier. Okay. And then it says, the peoples of Amaru were related to and under the governance of the ruler of the Nile rulers. Some lived in Egypt and are represented on ancient monuments as having fair skins, light hair, blue eyes, aquiline noses, and pointed beards. Now, let's read what somebody else says. Henry George Tompkins, 1897, a member of the Royal Archaeology Institute, wrote that the Amorites were blue-eyed and fair-haired. Egyptologists, Flinders Petrie, and Assyriologist Archibald Sauce believed that the Amaru were white with blue eyes and fair hair. According to Sauce, the Hittites, so Amorites are also synonymous with the Hittites. Like a lot of times it's the bad translation, they're really the same people. Sometimes even the Hivites. What were you going to say? Yeah.
So, like, just listening to this and being out, now we know, but like after growing up, the only image we see when the setting anything was like really describing this, and that really told us, oh, they're more powerful, that's our people. So we never knew because like this description is like, you know, you think that they probably got the description from here. Like we're just gonna watch that a little bit and put that.
Okay.
There's no way that they're gonna read the Bible that we read today
Yeah.
and make a movie and say, oh yeah, we got that in the Bible. There's no way that's what happened.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. But this matches perfectly.
So, and that's why, like when Abraham, when he had that dream, you got to understand. So that means that whore that he was seeing, more than likely, it was us in that hard slavery to the Amorites.
So it sounds like Deuteronomy was a dream. He was telling us
That's
that.
literally Deuteronomy 28.
Exactly.
And
Wow.
how they connected it to the Amorites, because like I said, somebody from Europe brought it out, and I was like, well, I gotta see it. I gotta look into this thing. So again, they try to make us believe that they're Japheth. They try to make us believe that they're the Israelites. They try to make us believe that they are the fathers of modern medicine and history and all this type of stuff. No, we don't even know their true origin. It's from Mount Hermon, though. We know it's from Mount Hermon or Shinar, where the fallen angels first came down. We know it; they are part of them, some kind of crazy way. So I'm gonna read this part again. It said, Henry George Tompkins, a member of the Royal Archaeological Institute, wrote the Amorites were blue-eyed and fair-haired. Egyptologist Flinders Petrie and Assyriologist Archibald Sauce believed that the Amorites were white with blue eyes and fair hair. According to Sauce, the Hittites, so they're also known as Hittites, they were a tall, handsome people with white skins, blue eyes, and reddish hair, and all the characteristics, in fact, of the white race. So we have been inheriting lies, straight lies. And you know what? It's okay because now, but especially this is all about us men. Now that we know this information, we got to make sure that we're disseminated into our families the right way. Like, okay, I know what they say, but let's look at these sources and see what the sources say, not what your textbooks actually teach you. That's our responsibility, because why do you think that our people kept an oral tradition? We don't even think about that. Why would our people do that, not just write it down? Because they can change stuff that's written down. But if I'm going to my son, to my grandson, I can make sure that you get all of the information as it was given to me, as best as I can remember it. So of course, some things get lost in translation. But like with what they do with textbooks and paperwork, Like they changed everything. Like, wait, Amorites, they're white skins is the white race. So it said, that's just crazy. I read that and I was like, what? The Amorites were tall, handsome people with white skins, blue eyes, and reddish hair. All the characteristics, in fact, of the white race. Okay, and so even the next one, according to Saul's tomb number 34 at Thebes, belonging to the 18th dynasty, 1500 C to 1292, illustrates a bearded Amorite chief with white skin and red-brown hair. So not just red and brown also. This tomb dates to a time after the earliest evidence of Amorites in Genesis. In Genesis. So what does that make y'all think?
Yeah.
So what?
I didn't know, I was actually what Amorite was. And I thought we went over Amorites before in his time.
Somewhat, yeah, somewhat.
We didn't go to, it didn't make full circle.
Yeah, like, this is just confirmation of what we've been learning, and just many of the lives that we've been through, it's just like, oh, that's what they are now. So it's like bringing that confirmation of the reality.
It's amazing how he said the fulfillment of the liberty was fulfilled in Amorite. Like, man, are you still in power?
More. And now you have to think, like, if they're the ones actually behind the scenes, but Esau's still a part of it. Don't get it twisted. Esau's in there also. But that's the reason why, if their origins come from Mount Hermon, then that means a lot of them are the descendants of the Nephilim. So that's how they getting all this information. I'm gonna go hit up Dad real quick. Hey yo, Pops. Hey yo. Hey, I need something to keep these people confused.
Listen, I don't know if y'all listen to my podcast. I try to take the outside sources of a lot of things because, like I said, this time I just go to the Most High. I just get my script, like, and pray. However, I do like in the time. But I think once it's Joe Rogan, this is what's the Lord God. He's not thinking this now. He said like they literally, they like
DMT, yeah, the drug.
They sit like in groups and they hallucinate with the same exact hallucination. So it's actually like an out of body experience, so to speak. But it's just a man, I heard it years ago. But like you said, a little hot right quick. That's not what we do. That's what we doing. You know what I mean? That's crazy. Because like those, I actually thought Mount Hermon was where they, like the earth opened up and closed them off. But just think about it. Maybe, because if they get there, and when was it Enoch?
Yep.
When Enoch was about how the Most High opened the earth and they didn't go for it. And then when he was talking about, this giant was this so-called mountain, like, all of it makes sense. Maybe they still up under that particular portion of the earth.
Yeah, and then you gotta understand that's a portal too, though.
Yeah.
So like with portals, you walk through it and you in a whole different reality. Like there were people that were, thanking the Most High. There was one in the New Testament, I forget his name, and the next thing you know, he was somewhere completely else. Didn't even know how he got there. Like, well, how did I get here? Because the angels can even take you through portals. So with portals, again, you go through a portal, like those portals all around America, those portals all around the world. So when they came, from heaven to earth or whatever, came through that portal or whatever, and remember, they made a covenant with each other. It wasn't just that they came down. They made a covenant to all do the same thing. So that's why they try to get Enoch to pray for them. Like, Enoch, hey, we need you to supplicate for us so the Most High will forgive us. And Enoch was like, okay, I'll do it. I'll pray as I'm going to sleep for you guys. And the Most High was like, no, the angels are supposed to be praying for you, not the other way around. They will not be forgiven. And their children are not going to live to be 500 years or 1,000 years. No, you're going to watch them all die is what the Most High told the watchers. And people don't even understand that. So when it talks about you're not even fighting against flesh and blood, we're fighting against the spirit of their seed that died because they weren't fully angel, they weren't fully human. So the Most High is not letting them go. Those are the spirits that we deal with. And so knowing that, we got to be careful. And we got to make sure we understand the enemy. So I'm just trying to make y'all aware of their devices because, again, for this whole time, I was thinking they were Japheth also. But then as I start looking into certain things like the original Caucasians, you look into who they are, what they actually look like, and you start trying to figure out, like, wait a minute, who in the world are these people? That don't make no sense. But again, it's all about the iniquities of the Amorites is not full. So that made me ask a question. So does that mean that, is he one? Is he? Y'all know he's a wrestler, right, named Sheamus in WWE.
Now what?
Sheamus. Mm-hmm. Sheamus. So, so what's really kind of crazy is because, like, you talk about Esau, because people try to say that Esau was the quote-unquote white man. I'm like, he was a twin brother. I know it says that he was red all over like a hairy garment. That just means he had red hair all over his body, or he was just red-haired. Light skin with red hair, but he still had red hair. Like, that was synonymous with his bloodline. The thing about it is, so they were mountain dwellers. What also is in mountains usually? The Amorites. They were also like, one of the definitions meant that they were mountain dwellers.
Bird.
So what also was in mountains?
Bird.
Caves. Caves, right? So Esau. So, right. So they were mountain dwellers, which means more likely they were cave dwellers. So, and the thing about Esau, right? Esau knew that there were certain women that he weren't supposed to be with, and he wasn't supposed to give his sons to, right? Because the Most High was against it. Because Esau's a Hebrew. That's a truth. He's a Hebrew, right? So, the Horites. I think I've read this to y'all before, but Bam, if you don't mind, could you read this about what do y'all know about the Horites? So if you look in like different biblical dictionaries, like they don't give you a patrilineage. It just starts at like Hor from Mount Seir. It's just like it's almost like you don't know where they come from. They're just there. It's almost like they've been erased from history, like the Amorites. Like they've just been erased. I don't know. Mm-hmm.
You know that the inhabitants of Mount Seir, before it's not occupation by the Elite, right?
Uh-huh.
Seir is Seir, right?
Uh-huh.
Seir is accordingly called Horad in Genesis 36, 20, and 30,
Uh-huh.
where a list of his descendants is given, who afterward meets with the invading Edomite Esau.
So Esau mixed with the Horites, right? We just read there. Okay.
Esau himself married the daughter of the Horad. It's the chieftain.
Uh-huh.
Chieftain Anah, where Hivite,
Huh? Horites?
no,
Hivite, yeah, Hivite.
Hivite must be corrected into Horite.
So where you see Hivite in that verse, it should be Hori.
And this you see about
But you got to be careful. Yeah, because they'll switch stuff. They did that on purpose. So if it's supposed to be Hori, why don't you put Hori? Why would you put Hivite? That doesn't make sense. So Esau mixed with the Horites, right?
Hivite.
Mm-hmm. Keep going.
The Horites in their Mount Seir were one of the nations defeated by the army of the
Chedorlaomer.
in the age of Abraham. The Hebrew Horite, however, is the car of the Egyptian inscriptions, a name given to the whole of the southern Palestine and Edom as well. Southern of the southern Palestine,
Mm-hmm.
as well as the adjacent sea. Right.
Yep, keep going.
In accordance with these, we find in the Old Testament also traces of the existence of the Horites in other parts of the country besides Mount Seir.
So wait, so they weren't just in Mount Seir, they had migrated also, right? Okay.
The
Tuligent.
Septuagint more correctly reads Horite instead of Hivite. For the inhabitants of
Shechem.
Shechem,
That trust me, we're gonna be reading about Shechem. Either if not today, then next week. We're definitely gonna be reading about Shechem.
and Gibeon and Caleb is said to be the sons of Hur, the firstborn of
Ephrata.
Ephraim. They're like Caleb, we know.
Caleb is the first son of Hur, is the son of Hur, the firstborn of Ephrata, or Bethlehem in 1 Chronicles 2:50 and 4. Could be. But because like And that's what you have to understand. When we came out of Egypt with a mixed multitude, everyone that was there became a part of the covenant. Now, there was a bloodline, true enough, but there was still a mixed multitude. Now, some of the mixed multitude left or died or whatever you want to say, but all of the mixed multitude did not just disappear. Like, that's not
Because Caleb and his brothers were the only ones that.
right.
Don't say
Because,
that
like, which is crazy because Caleb, I want to say Caleb was an Edomite. I want to say, actually. I want to say he was an Edomite, if I'm not mistaken. I'll just have to look into that. But then if he's a Hur means a Horite, so what does that mean?
But I think so, if I'm reading correctly, this, like when we get down here, these people are the Edomites and the Horites together, they just took the name of Horite.
Right, yeah, no, I'm with you. So what did he look like then? Because the Horites, keep reading, just keep reading.
All right, Horite has sometimes been explained to me in cave dweller.
So wait, Amorite also meant what? It was mountaineers, right? Mountaineers. They live in the mountains. And we also said that what else is in a mountain? Caves. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, so it's more probably how it denotes the white race.
What denotes the white race?
Cave
No,
dweller.
no. Read that whole sentence again.
So, Horite has sometimes been explained to me cave dweller. It more probably, however, denotes the white race. So, Horite is a whore.
So you got Amorites, you got Horites. So what is going on? I thought they were shaving.
And then nightmare said Abraham had a horror.
Stop it.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
Words help. No.
Yeah, the horror of darkness. Yeah.
You see?
So I was reading that. I'm like, yo, that don't even reading this stuff, and I'm like, yo, this is kind of wild. Like I didn't even. It denotes the white race. Like really, had no idea. So one thing which I didn't put a lot in here or anything about, I'm really just gonna talk about it. So y'all know that there were red-haired giants found in caves in Nevada, right? Here. So the natives used to talk about how there was a race of red-haired giants, right, that were white-skinned, that would come around, and then that's why they started saying how. You have to say how, and you have to put your hand up. If they saw 6 fingers, they would kill you, because then they knew, because that's a genetic marker of Nephilim seed. Oh yeah, tell them about it. Yeah. Yeah. So, because I was going to try to read the article, but I just want y'all to know that it's our responsibility to make sure that we're looking up history, because we got to be prepared for what's going on, because the scripture says that the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full, and it's not quite full, but now because there's 2 awakenings going on. Go ahead.
I was watching the video, and the dude was explaining, I think it was a redneck and hillbilly, he kind of explaining it. But you know, most movies that depict hillbillies as these awful creatures, strong, and cave dwellers, like they eat people, and he'll have eyes. All these movies, that's crazy.
And it said a red-haired cannibalistic giant.
They live about the human stuff there. But they put it right in front of our faces every time.
This stuff is just wild. Like you start reading what people with PhDs are actually saying about this stuff, you're like, wait a minute, like what? So what are y'all feeding us in this? Like that's why we really want to homeschool home, because I'm building a library right now. So you're gonna learn real history. You know, you're reading this book this week. Nope, you're gonna read it all. You're gonna give them a report, a presentation, whatever. Just because, like the stuff that they teach us in school ain't worth nothing. Because eventually we're gonna get into the Spanish Inquisition. What really happened? Eventually, we're gonna do that. And I'm gonna pick a day during the week. If I can get somebody to come out here and read with me, we're gonna start going over history from books. Only try to be there an hour. But that is my goal. I want to start that in October if all goes well. Go ahead.
I went to an event last night, I forgot what it's called, supporting my sis, but they had some of the elders from around Black town in Oklahoma. They were like having, they'll say they're going to give us the history, how Oklahoma tradition. So they were talking about how we might start teaching our children outside of what we're teaching in school. And it's crazy like how a lot of people out here didn't know of
at all.
We were well out of school and had to educate ourselves, and then one of the speakers was just like, it is our responsibility as men, mind you, everybody's coming together, it's like a full circle, this wasn't a religious type of event, and so the speakers that were coming up there, they were speaking about how you have to get back in your biblical roots, number one, figure out who you are. And
Right.
like as men, we have to come together and know who we are and organize together and get organized so that we believe. And we have to basically teach our children our history because it's gonna get erased.
Yep.
Like y'all know, Florida, since I think it was Florida, I think they removed, one of the states had removed where they were gonna change and take the slaves, all the slave trade out of the books. So that way our children don't even know what took place because they said it's spreading hate. But I'm like, how is that spreading hate? We need to know how to not go back to that.
Oh yeah.
And so like, it's so important.
You talking about the critical race theory stuff?
Yeah,
Mhm.
and so I was like, man, this is so on point because it's, like, when me and BJ with the kids, what we used to do, and what we still do, is we'll sit down, we sit down, and we have either a documentary or something that is explaining, like, hey, this is what our people went through, or even with my dad, I'll ask my dad questions around my children, like, hey, Dad, you know, when you were younger, this would happen, like the segregation in school, and I would ask them so that way they understand, like, your papa knew this stuff. Like, it's so important that we sit down with our elders and teach our children this because these schools don't teach our children this.
Nothing.
They just teach them, if you wanna teach them, they get mad at my kids all the time because I'll put notes on and stuff. Like, no, you tell the teacher that have problems, they come to me. But homeschool is like really what my heart is set on, but it's so important that we teach our children history because they're not gonna get it in a public setting.
Yeah, I agree. And so, saying all that to say this, because I'm not saying all the white people come from the Horites or the Amorites, but those that are in power, you can be fairly certain that they are the ones behind a lot of this stuff that's going on. And we haven't even known. We had no idea who our enemy really was. Because I'm telling you, I was just like, wait, this stuff is saying what? That's wild. Wild. And so if y'all get a chance, and I'm not going to go to the article, it says the Lovelock Cave. You can find out more information about the red-haired giants here in North America. But like the Indians, the natives that were here, all banded together to go and start destroying those people. They literally did. Because they were a warlike, because we read earlier, they were a warlike race of giants. And so like they had to band together. They didn't have a choice. They were cannibals also. You don't have to, that sounds like what the Nephilims were. The Nephilims were cannibals, were they not?
Yep. Question.
What's up?
So, y'all know, like, just about Bigfoot, you know,
Mhm.
and he had, like, brown hair, man looking like bear.
Cave
brown
dweller,
hair.
mountain dweller.
Yeah, and it dawned on me that, I was looking into it, they don't have sightings in Oklahoma. But all of these places have different sightings of so-called Bigfoot.
Yep.
Yeah, when he popped up, dude, you know, he had that big old hairy stripe right here, his hair all wild. Well, it's a sign of demons. People, of course, you know, time to time, get this telephone game.
And you can tell he'd be dyeing his hair to make it really, really red. It wouldn't normally look like that because he's, like I said, he's a WWE superstar. So it wouldn't be that red. It would be reddish
No,
brown.
I'm gonna picture the caveman face.
Oh, okay, my bad.
You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like, even though, like, you know, somebody just see a big mass of, that, like, it look like a bird, especially in the dark through trees, so that's why you have so many Bigfoot sightings. And then they big people, so they tall people. It's just, it's just like, bro, this is mind-blowing.
Only thing you don't know. I mean, I don't want to run on that.
No. Jamad, what happened when they ran up on that Johnny in Iraq?
That giant, he has a fast food. That giant moved with so much agility and speed and grace that it made no sense. The first soldier he ran into, he had a shield in one hand and a spear in the other hand, and he was javelin.
So that means he was still primitive, still tribal.
Running off the cave. The first soldier he got to, he picked him up with his spear.
Picked him up with the spear.
Yeah, the right through him. And threw him on the ground. Well, before that, it was, okay, it was two sets of 12 different soldiers who was in this cave. The first set,
Wow.
a soldier never came back. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
He was special forces
Yep.
about that.
Yep.
So it said a
How many?
650.
Told
He
you.
had 2 rows of top teeth, 2 rows of bottom teeth.
Yep. He almost sounds like a Cyclops, is what he
Fire
almost sounds
red
like.
hair. Fire red hair.
Red hair.
Yeah.
Red hair again.
Yeah. And,
The iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full.
yeah, and they call him children, they say he smell like a corpse. Like a corpse. This is the boy that, like, he already started in the gym with the people who live in that region of Afghanistan. He comes to their village when he's hungry, and gets somebody to eat.
So yeah, I'm just here to pick up some fast
So
food.
What they do is, they get the animal they don't want, they try to give it to him.
Yep, they sacrifice a person.
Yeah. But when he don't want that,
I don't want that. I told you I want it fried. Like, no.
oh, they human.
That's what it costs up with DoorDash.
Say what? It was Cave Dash? What'd you
It
say?
was kind of that first round there. And they was like, hey, we doing this for dude. We can make money.
We can literally make a killing. No, I'm not doing what you man.
That's a real story that happened like 2009, I think it was. Yeah. And of course, hired us in the government, public soldiers, you didn't see nothing, they made it cut and close.
Mhm.
So if you ever talk about it, we were crazy because it was funding all that, but some of the soldiers do it.
Of course.
And they do that a lot though, like, I mean, everybody that serves, we know,
Yeah.
like, with the Al-Qaeda camp that happened in America, you cannot move that for anything.
Yeah.
But we were shown
Black
exactly where they're at and everything, and it's crazy, because I used to work at Foster before I got deployed to my last one. And we used to see them come on, all like, why are so many Middle Eastern people here? Like,
Uh-huh.
just come in and order stuff without the meat and leave them, like, it was like consistent. And then when we went to training before we had to go back to Iraq, we were literally told and briefed on all the Al-Qaeda camps in America
Yeah.
that they're funding, and you cannot go with nothing, you can't find nothing about it. They're like, you can't tell nobody this, we might, but our families are here, like, right here, one's right here in Muscogee, over that river. It's like, okay, yeah.
There's something about this iniquity of the Amorites. That's all I'm gonna say, because that's crazy. I mean, but like you said, like that's true. That's when the truth becomes stranger than fiction. Because again, there's two awakenings right now. We're awakening to the truth, but a lot of people are still asleep.
Yeah, think about it.
That's why you have to be so
Huh? Westerner. What? Because it also meant Westerner. That's why I showed y'all about the giants out here in America. Because everywhere on earth, and like the prophecies talk about like Judah going first, and it talks about how we come from the west. We're in the western hemisphere. I was just like, yo, this stuff, you can't even make this stuff up. Like, all of this stuff. So I'm going to keep going so I can get y'all out of here. So now we're going to go to the Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5. The Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5. Now we're only going to read verses 1 through 8 and 15 through 20.
This is not even all.
Huh? Yeah. 1 through 8, yeah. Yeah, because I left out what? About 7 verses? Jamal, matter of fact, if you don't mind, thank you for volunteering, sir. Kind, sir.
How you said you can read? Because it's been over my education.
Yeah.
Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him, and made no account of his labors. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear.
Who's going to be troubled with terrible fear?
They,
Who's they? Who them?
both,
Huh?
both of them.
Oh, for them. Okay, keep going.
All right, when they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they have looked for.
So we're going to stop there because I said that there's 2 awakenings, but that's why this is going to be such a strange salvation. Because the world is looking at the wrong people. They're looking at them and think that they're the time clock. We're the time clock. People are waiting for a rapture when what's going to happen is there's going to be a great destruction, and then we are going to go back to where we belong. Everyone's going to leave this place, but everyone's looking for the wrong things. That's why it's going to be so strange to people. That's why we went to the Wisdom of Solomon. So when Wisdom of Solomon is talking about, it says, when they see it, they shall be troubled with fear. Because they're going to be like what I think one of my mama's dreams used to be like, them? Them? You mean it's them? and they shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they could have looked for. Because in their minds, there is no way we can be the people after everything that's been done to us.
Right.
There's no way. Heck, in most of our people's mind, there's no way.
There has
No.
to be a way. We want to get persecuted every generation. Like, what do you mean?
No, but like in their minds, there's no way. Like, there's no way. It's got to be the people that's over there with the ish on at the end of their name. It's got to be. But the strangeness of the salvation, we still have to have that spirit of discernment. We have to make sure that we're paying attention. We can't let, because Biden is coming out with another one of them things. We got to make sure that our kids know not to take that thing.
Vaccine.
None of the things. We got to make sure that we know the right history. We got to make sure that we're leading them in righteousness by, like Elder Parson was talking about last time, by example, not just by words. We have to have the lip of truth in our mouths at this time. We have to start, because it's a daily walk. We have to start walking towards perfection right now. Is what we need to be doing. Just the manner of man that we have to be, because this is all about us. Because again, we are the root of our families. This strangeness of salvation is going to be through us, because it's a man's covenant. We can't forget that. It's about us getting it right. We have to be the ones to get it right, so that our example can be the beacons of light to our families, so they can gravitate to that. Because this salvation, although it's been a spiritual one this whole time through the Passion age, when it comes at a certain point in this age of Aquarius, it's going to be a physical salvation. That's why it's going to be strange to people, because they overly spiritualize things. That's exactly what happened. They had us to the point to where we would pray to love our enemies and not pray for the Most High to deliver us from that, just so we can have our own nation. It's not be called black. And every derogative you can think of. They had us so bewitched through the strange delusion that we wouldn't even do that. You read the Bible. You read in the Old Testament. In the book of Judges, people would be righteous for a little bit. The righteous man or prophet would lead them. He would die. They'd fall back in their ways. They would go into captivity. What would they do? They would cry out to the Most High. We have been under witchcraft and we haven't even known it. We won't even cry for deliverance as a nation of people, because we love our oppressors. We're not supposed to envy our oppressors. But that's why they came up with a slave Bible, right? And they would only use certain books in there, because they had to keep our minds in captivity, even though the chains were off. But we have got to take these mental chains off. It's that time, because it's going to be a strange salvation that comes. But again, it's on us, men, to make sure that our families understand these things. We have to set the standard, and we have to make sure that these standards are being upheld. It's not on a woman to do that. It's not. That's on us. That's something that we can do, right? Okay, keep going. My bad. My fault.
And they repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit shall say within themselves, this was he whom we had sometimes in derision
Right.
in a proverb of reproach.
That's what we've been for 400 years. That's what we've been. Go ahead.
We fools accounted his life madness.
Don't they kill us like police and whoever else? Heck, we kill ourselves, But that's what happened. They accounted our lives for nothing. Like, man, it's just a nigga.
Another black guy.
Just another. Oh well. I mean, they killed themselves.
Well, that's black lives
They're
matter.
monkeys, whatever. Every derogative, explicative you can think of. But in the strangeness of salvation, they are going to be confused. That's why it's going to be a strange salvation that happens. Okay, keep going.
And his end to be without honor.
Because they didn't think that we had any. Again, there's no way in the world they thought that we could be the people. Those that are just common folk, the powers that should not be, because the Amorite, the iniquity of the Amorites is not full. They knew who we were, but they had to keep the other ones that kind of sort of look like them, probably ain't even related to them in any type of way, had to keep them all confused, right? To keep us down. So this is another little known well fact. So we've been called a minority for so long, right? You know that when Arab Muslims come over here, they're classified as white?
What?
When they come over here, they're classified as white. So they have to, if they want to, because a lot of them are as black as us,
Yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah.
If they want to claim their blackness, they have to denounce the whiteness, and then they lose those benefits. I was watching this documentary the other day, and the guy was talking about it. I was like, what? Him and his family came over here, and they were black, like I said, black as us, and talking about dark skin, talking about how when they came over here, they ended up finding out that they were classified as white, and they couldn't understand it. Because they like in their reality, they classify people by their religion first, then by their ethnicity. But that's not how America does it. They try to get you by a racial designation first, and then you can have a whatever religious affiliation you want to have. But that's not, so that's one of the devices that they use to keep us thinking that we're truly a minority. Because when they came over here, the majority of the Native Americans that were over, which we're going to start going through history, were like, you look at the definitions and how they described them, were dark skinned, tiny, like there were some that were quote unquote white, whatever you want to call it, but the majority of them, that's why a lot of black people always say, yeah, oh, you got some good hair, you got Indian in you. The stuff is just wild. So with that being said, we're going to jump to Jeremiah 16. Let me get y'all out of here. Jeremiah 16. No, you're not there. No. Yeah, you got to read your book. We're going to start at verse 13 and we're going to go through 21 because it's going to be a strange salvation, right? And this is going to stay in the same vein because they're not going to know what to do. They're not going to know what to think, right? So read that.
Therefore will I cast you out of this land into a land that ye know not.
That's what happened to us.
Neither ye nor your fathers.
Our fathers didn't know this land.
And there shall ye serve other gods day and night. Where I will not shew your favor.
So he didn't show us no favor when we first came over here. Yeah, that's Old English. Yeah. Yeah, so they didn't show us no favor like the Most High didn't because, again, everything is an algorithm, blessings and curses. Once that algorithm got set up, there was a time frame where the Most High was like, I'm not going to show you mercy. I'm not going to hear your prayers. I don't care about your tears. I'm going to put dung on your faces. I don't care about none of that. Since you want to set off this algorithm, I got to stand by my word. That's one thing that he will not go back on, right? Okay, keep going.
Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt.
And we still talk about that. That was a great salvation to this day, but that was a physical salvation, right? But that was a salvation.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north.
Wait, what continent are we on?
North America.
The land of the north. Huh?
That's in Canada.
Huh?
That's in Canada.
Yeah, but they don't call it North Canada. He said continent.
That's in
Yeah.
Canada.
Yeah. But literally, he's going to save us from the land of the north, right? I'll keep going.
And from all the lands whither he had driven them.
Mm-hmm.
And I will bring them again into their land that I gave unto their fathers. Behold, I will send for many fishes, saith the Lord, and they shall fish them. And after will I send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain, and from every hill, and out of every hole of a rock.
I got it from you. It says, for mine eyes are upon all their ways. They are not hid from my face. Neither is their iniquity hid from mine eyes. And first I will recompense their iniquity and their sin double. That's what we went through. We got double for our trouble. Because they have defiled my land. They have filled my nahala, mine inheritance, with the carcasses of their detestable and abominable things. O Yahuwah, my strength, and my fortress, and my refuge in the day of affliction, the Gentiles shall come unto you from the ends of the earth, and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. That's what we're looking at. That's why this is going to be a strange salvation, because there's finding out who we are, and it's going to be irrefutable. Like, there's so many documentaries, there's so many books, there's so many articles talking about who we are, and the information just keeps growing. Because before, it was kind of easy to try to debunk it, but now, like, you can't, there's people writing more books about information that they're finding. And it says, shall a man make gods unto himself? They are no gods. Therefore, behold, I will this once, so this one time the Most High is going to do this once, I will this once cause them to know. I will cause them to know mine hand and my might, and they shall know that my name is Yahuwah. So the Most High is going to do this strange salvation to let them know that, hey, that's my hand, them as my people. But it was because of our wickedness and because of us as men not doing what we're supposed to do. We can't put that on the women. We can't. Now we're going to go to Isaiah 34, verse 8. Now, again, there's two awakenings and it's a strange salvation. For it is the day of Yahuwah's vengeance. Because I didn't want to read the other stuff. We'll get to that next time. And the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. Again, there's people, imposters, that are acting like they're us. And people that are sending them billions of dollars a year. They're not the true people of the book. They're not. More likely, a lot of them are Khazars, Edomites, maybe some Japhite, but they're not the people because they don't fit the curse. Like, so with this strange salvation, the Most High has to save you from a land of the north. When did that happen to them? That's what this stuff is tied to. So again, in this time, we have to be the ones that are paying attention to the signs. So what do y'all know about BRICS? Because I know my wife, she sent a picture about it. What do y'all know about BRICS? Anybody? Hmm? No, I ain't no crip. No. Huh? Does anyone know anything about BRICS? Okay. Okay, bam. No, I'm gonna need you to read. So, what is BRICS? Which countries want to join and why? So, this is what BRICS is. Go ahead, man.
So,
If you can, I can read it.
we want to go to the top of it, but what's BRICS? I got the acronym BRIC. Was it not initially included?
No. Go at the top.
The BRICS group of major emerging
Economies.
Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa.
So BRICS is an assembly of nations. India, China, and Russia? India, China, and Russia. That's what BRICS is. And of course, in South Africa, but South Africa is not as big of a threat right now as the other nations, like and from an economical standpoint. So I just want y'all to see that, right?
Be prepared to read.
Yeah. So keep going though, Bam, because we got a little bit.
We are whole is 15 heads of states and governments summoned in Johannesburg between August 22nd and 24th.
So
This is the 15th time.
so they've been meeting for 15 years, and a lot of us, we haven't been paying attention. Like this is a major thing that's going on, right? So that just happened. So it didn't initially. It used to be BRIC. It didn't initially include South Africa. But we know the Assembly of Nations. Man, read this next one.
The bloc was founded as an informant club in 2009 to provide a platform for its members to challenge a world order dominated by the United States and its Western allies.
So the whole point of them is to challenge the United States and the Westerners, the Amorites, the iniquity of the Amorites, right? So that's the whole point in their creating this thing, and they've been doing this for 15 years. Keep going. Of course, you know, China and India have the biggest population on Earth. Like, I think they're 1 and 2 on Earth. You put them together, that is a great assembly of nations with them alone. Okay, keep going.
This crash was initiated by Russia. The group is not a format with the
Formal, multilateral.
multilateral organization like the United Nations, the World Bank of the Organization of the
Petroleum.
Petroleum Exporting Countries.
Okay.
The head of state and government of the member nations convene annually with each nation, taking of a 1 year with the rotating chairmanship of the group.
So those 5 nations, right? Every year they switch who's the head chairman or the chairperson, the one who's in charge. So they're truly showing solidarity. It's not just the United States, but they were created to come against the Westerners or the United States. We got to be paying attention to what's going on in Taiwan also. Got to pay attention to that. Bam, if you don't mind.
Brazil, Russia, India, and China are defined members. South Africa, the smallest member in terms of economic
Clout.
and population. We go by clout. was the first beneficiary of an, what's the word?
Expansion.
Expansion of the bloc in 2010. When the grouping became known as BRIC.
So they switch it from block to brick. Okay.
Together, the countries account for more than 40% of the world population and a quarter of the globe economy.
Economy. So, like, y'all have to think in terms of destruction. And I say that because what does America literally create of its own? You talk about India, China, and Russia. Most of the stuff that we get come from at least two of those places. Like, people keep thinking America's going to go back to normal being a superpower. America's looking at a third world soon. I don't think it's going to last. So starting in 2019. So 30. America won't be America by. I'll say at the latest will be 2049. I'll give it 30 years from now. Like that's max. But we're looking at a slow fall, a slow burn of America. And we got to take heed to the signs, take heed to our spirits, and make sure that we're learning the right skills and bartering with the right people, and just making sure when the stuff hits the fan that we know who we can trust and who we can lean on. For real. Because this stuff, 40% of the population, right? Then it says, so which nations want to join BRICS and why? Jeremiah, you mind reading this one? Because so other countries want to join BRICS, in case people didn't know that. So right now it's what, 5 nations?
Yeah,
4?
everybody's against America.
Read it.
Why?
Oh, we're at the very top. That should be over.
Over 40 countries, including Iran,
Uh-oh.
Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Argentina, Algeria, Bolivia, Indonesia, Egypt, Ethiopia, Cuba, Democratic Republic of Congo, Comoros, Gabon, Kazakhstan have expressed interest in joining the forum, according to the 2023 summit chair in South Africa.
So,
Wow.
so you got all of these other host nations. So they're setting the stage for a major world war.
Yeah.
And they're letting you know without letting you know, like, okay, hey, they've been meeting for 15 years. It ain't going to be too much longer. It really ain't. If you don't mind, keep reading.
They view BRICS as an alternative to global bodies viewed as dominated by the traditional Western powers, and hope membership will unlock benefits including development finance and increased trade and investment. Dissatisfaction with the global order among developing nations was exacerbated by the COVID-19 epidemic.
Oh, so COVID made it worse. So when they say about the global order, what country are they talking about? Are they talking about America? Okay.
America and England,
Mm-hmm.
countries like that. Epidemic, when life-saving vaccines were hoarded by the rich countries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that just and or what?
Yeah.
And home to around a quarter of the Middle East oil reserves.
Oh, Iran.
Iran, home to around a quarter of the Middle East oil reserves, has said it hopes the mechanism for new membership will be decided at the earliest.
So they trying to be a part of that soon, ASAP.
Yeah.
ASAP rocket. Okay, I got it from here. Thank you. It said heavyweight Saudi Arabia was among more than a dozen countries that participated in Friends of BRICS talks in Cape Town in June. So there was a Friends of BRICS event in June. It has received backing from Russia and Brazil to join the BRICS. So Saudi Arabia is about to be a part of it real soon. And you know, Saudi Arabia, they got money.
This is like the United Nations trying to undermine the United Nations. Trying to undermine that.
How do I? It's like the Avengers versus the Justice League. That's basically what it is. Yeah.
One world religion, and they were really trying to push this agenda. Now we're just seeing it. Yes. And I'm really
talk about it.
talk about it or pay attention. So, I'm like, yeah, this confirmation on that, what is being told in the prophets and the messengers rather that are going forth to tell us this stuff. A lot of people are not taking it serious. And now they're like, this is developing, and you're like, well, are you gonna listen to them or?
Yeah, is this for real or for play?
Yeah, it's happening.
It says Argentina said in July it received China's formal support to join the group. Ethiopia, one of Africa's fastest growing economies, said in June it had asked to join the bloc, with the foreign ministry spokesman saying the country will continue to work with international institutions that protect their interests. So all of these different countries are truly trying to be a part of. Bolivia also. In Algeria. So we know why all this is happening. This is happening again because of the two awakenings. And we're going to probably end this here. So we're going to go to Daniel 12. And we're going to read verses 1 and 2. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of your people. So in case you didn't know, for the children of Israel, Michael is the angel. He that dude. He him. Mikael. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of your people. And there shall be a time of trouble. That's what we've been going through. Such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time your people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame, everlasting contempt. Two awakenings. That's what's going on. So which one are we going to awaken to? Which one? Back to Wisdom of Solomon, so I can finish this up. Verse 5. Chapter 5, verse 5. How is he numbered? Talking about the children of the Most High. How is he numbered like that? Because they can't believe it's us. With the children of God. And his lot is among the saints. Therefore have we erred from the way of truth. And the light of righteousness have not shined unto us. That's why I'm talking about two awakenings. Like we want the sun of righteousness to what? Have healing in his wings to shine on us. But it's setting on them. So that's the two different awakenings that's still going on even now. Right? And the sun of righteousness rose not upon us, because it set on them. We wearied ourselves in the way of wickedness and destruction. Yes, we have gone through deserts where they lay no way. But as for the way of Yahuwah, we have not known it. What hath pride profited us? Or what good have riches with our vaunting brought upon us, or brought us? So they don't know what to do. Good, because it's about done. Okay, good. Jump to 15. But the righteous live forevermore. Their reward also is with Yahuwah, and the care of them is with the Most High. Therefore shall they receive a glorious kingdom. That's what we're talking about. It is a spiritual kingdom, but it's also going to be a strange salvation. We're going to get a physical kingdom. And a beautiful crown from Yahuwah's hand. For with his right hand, which means his power, shall he cover them. And with his arm shall he protect them. That's what's happening to us. And he shall take him his jealousy for a complete armor, because we know that he is a jealous God, a jealous Elohim. So he's going to use that and create an armor of protection for us. And make the creature his weapon for the revenge of his enemies. His enemies become our enemies, right? In this day. He shall put on righteousness as a breastplate, and true judgment instead of an helmet. He shall take holiness for an invincible shield. That's why it's good to be set apart. It's good to be separate. It's good to be outstanding. That's what we were created for. It is literally your shield. His severe wrath shall he sharpen for a sword, and the world shall fight with him against the unwise. And we are the world. But strange salvation, like again, we didn't even get to all of the iniquity of the Amorites, but I just want you to see what I've unearthed about the Amorites. Did that make sense? We good? Any questions? Ma'am, you pray us out?
Heavenly Father, we just come and say thank you for this short one. Thank you for a wonderful lesson, Heavenly Father. You use your seed as a vessel to spread the truth by anyone truth before truth, Heavenly Father. Open our ears to the truth, open our eyes to the truth. Give us discernment, forgive us all our sins against you, against ourselves, and against others. We thankfully praise you, that we will stand by us. Amen.
Amen. All right, so we'll continue part 3 next time. Shalom. Shabbat shalom.